In this world, there's people meant to be doctors, people meant to be dentists, people meant to be astronauts, whatever. I'm meant to be unemployed. And like I say this so seriously. Like I'm meant to be unemployed. Like I could have a job. I have had a job. But it's just like that's not my calling. My calling is to be unemployed. And I'm like very, very serious.
Hey guys, what's up? How y'all doing today? So today's topic, I wanted to talk about it because I've been seeing this topic or this trending idea or this lifestyle kind of being promoted and popularized on social media again, which is fine because people can choose to do what they want with their life and live it how they want. But really, I just don't, I don't understand it. Okay, and so this seems to be trending more popular, more heavy with the younger generations, the younger crowds, because they are the ones who's posting like a lot of videos, a lot of social media posts about not working, not wanting to work, not going to work. They're just not having it. And so pretty much I seen a post today about that, and I was like, this is what I don't understand. Because even though you have a choice to not work, the thing is like this. Nobody really wants to work. Nobody wants to spend their life working, employed. But people work, they work full time, they spend their lives working because unfortunately that is how you're going to be able to survive right now. I mean, that's just the way life is, and you have to have money to survive, unfortunately, to some degree. So therefore, the way to make money is you have to work in some capacity for that money. And things are so bad right now that the older generations, the people that are in retirement age, the people who should be retired, the people who are coming up on retirement, should be looking forward to retiring, should be able to rest peacefully through their retirement years, even though you can't retire till you're 65, 70. You're already, by 65, 70, you're already old, you know what I mean? But that aside, nowadays 65, 70, they're not able to retire. They're not able to stay retired because they cannot afford it. They cannot afford to sustain themselves, on their retirement checks or on their savings, on their 401ks, things that they worked for, that they paid in for their whole working life. It's not sustaining them. So it boggles my mind when I see younger generations who are flat out refusing to work or making any excuse to why they're not going to work or they can't work or working just not for them. Because it's like, look, nobody really wants to spend their life working. But also, I feel like when you're young, this is just maybe my opinion and my train of thought with it. Maybe this is why they feel this way or think this way. I don't really know. But maybe it's like, when you're young and you have your whole life ahead of you and there's so many things out in the world to do, to see, and you're in good health, that you're like, well, I don't need to work. I got these other things, that I want to do, that I can do. I'm in good shape. Everything's great. Let me just go do all this other things, which is fine. It'd be great for everybody to be able to experience things in life. But the thing is, you're not always going to be young. You're not always going to be in good health. And as you get older or as your health starts to deteriorate, money is not just going to all of a sudden appear for you to live off of, to sustain you, to take care of you. And another thing is, these young folks that are not out here working, they don't want to work, somehow, in order to survive, that means they're either like pretty much living off of somebody else, or they're like some kind of trust fund kid, or like something, you know, because money doesn't grow on trees, it doesn't fall out of the sky. So if they're not working, somebody else, their, you know, their parents or grandparents, their partner, somebody is working or has worked and is financially supporting them. Okay? That's the truth of the matter. I have seen several videos of younger folks saying that they're not going to work, they don't want to work, they'd rather be out enjoying their life, but they're sitting in a home. They're eating food, they're traveling in a vehicle that they're driving. How did you get that? How are you continuing to pay for that? How do you have that? You know? If you're not working, you're not the one paying for it. You know, you're not the one putting the gas in the vehicle. You know, so somebody else has got to be doing that for you. And if you're not willing to work now, are you going to be willing to work later? Because whoever is financially supporting you right now, eventually they're also going to grow old. Eventually their health is going to start deteriorating more. And eventually they're not going to be able to support you like they are now, or what have you. And it's not just like your parents or your grandparents. That goes for your partner or your spouse too. You're getting older, so are they. If they're the breadwinner, they're the ones, you know, financially supporting you. Eventually, they're not going to be able to do that either. And so, pretty much, I feel like when people say that they don't want to work, they're not going to work, working's not for them, etc., etc., I feel like they're not thinking about the future. And like I said, I don't know if it's because they're in good health and they're possibly younger and, you know, they're just thinking they're invincible still. But I mean, clearly they're not thinking about the future. What are you going to do, you know, as you get older and you need some more money, and, you know, it's going to be, the jobs you're going to be able to do are going to start being limited, or your health starts to go bad, and then your bills start piling up even more due to medical expenses, and maybe you need adjustments to your home to accommodate your health, or, you know, just anything like that, you know. But I don't think people are thinking about that. I mean, if you don't pay into a 401k, you don't have anything in savings, you're not working, what are you going to do when you're 50, 60, 70 years old? Is that when you're going to decide, hey, maybe I need to go get a job and work? Is to go get a job. You work. Unfortunately, you have to work to survive. And I don't know if people are posting this kind of content because it gets reactions out of people, and it gets a lot of buzz, it gets a lot of chatter going, and maybe they're really working, you know, or earning some kind of money and they're just lying about it, or what. Because people, I don't know, I'm not understanding how a full train of thought goes from I'm not going to work, I don't want to work, working is not for me, and I'm going to be able to survive literally the rest of my life not working. How? What does your future entail? What is your plans of sustaining yourself financially later on in life? Do you have a family of your own? Are you going to have a family of your own? Are you going to have a partner? Are you going to, you know, have a pet? Like, what are you going to do? Like, how is this sustainable? I don't understand, but it's like a growing, more popularizing, like a lifestyle that people are starting to glamorize more and more. But somewhere along the lines, for all of these people who are refusing to work, don't want to work, whatever, somebody is footing the financial bill for that. So anyway, I just wanted to throw this out there because if you are someone that is in the younger generations and your outlook is to not work because you don't want to, or, you know, you feel like working's not for you, everybody that is older than you that works, somewhere in the back of their brain literally feels the same way, but they work because they know they have to financially survive. And I'm telling you now, it would be a really great idea for you to work to financially support yourself now, because if you don't, it is going to be so much harder to financially support yourself later in life. The older you get, the more medical conditions you acquire. When you are still working, those become more and more limited, and it's harder to work. It's harder to find a job. It's harder to keep a job. So therefore, it's going to be harder to financially support yourself. So while you're young, while you're healthy, I would recommend wholeheartedly for you to work, and work as much as you can, make as much money as you can, because somewhere later on in life, you're going to need that money.